Justin Schwilling. Congratulations on being Associate Spotlight for February. Thank you for joining me on this COVID year of working virtual and taking the time out to do a video of getting to know you. Would you be open to telling us a little bit about yourself and who Justin Schwilling is and where you've come from?
Yeah, I grew up in Hot Springs for most of my life and went to Arkansas Tech in Russellville. And then I joined Edafio in 2004, pretty much right after college. I married my wife, Hannah, in 2009. And in 2014, we had our son, Everett. That's kind of where we are. I think we're one and done. We're having a good time and trying to make the best of work and school at home with COVID.
What do you do at Edafio?
I'm a senior systems engineer, work with a group of clients that I do things all the time with, but I also work on the projects team. So there's some projects for new clients or existing clients where there might be a project that's bigger or more long-term thing that day-to-day field team guys need help with. And so we'll come in and help with like domain migrations or email projects, 365, that kind of stuff. Most of my projects right now are actually for my core group of clients that are assigned to me. So they're keeping us pretty busy. So I do get to do some end user interaction every once in a while and, kind of do almost everything for our clients, from network problems to server issues or even some workstation setups when I have some spare time. So
do you find that you're able to do a lot of it remote?
It's been an interesting year, for sure. A lot of stuff I can do remote. I do have one client in North Shore Business Park where they're a surgical hospital, so that one we kind of do go on site for. Especially with projects, a lot of that we can do remote. We do like to go on site, if we're putting in some new infrastructure or doing a big change and want to make sure that we don't lock ourselves out remotely or something like that. But it's been interesting because I've been here since 2004. Back then, we did almost everything on site, and we just kind of have newer technology even available to what we do that lets us build a server in Russellville or something from my house, as long as the right network connectivity is there. So it's been cool to see how that's changed over the past few years.
Yeah, to see that you don't have to be on site to get the work done, although it is sometimes appreciated and people enjoy seeing, having that face-to-face interaction. But knowing that there's other options and availability is important too.
Yeah, and we kind of like that too. We can call our clients, we can talk on Teams and stuff, but sometimes it is nice to just like go there and be like, hey, I'm going to come on site this week, and as long as it's been okay with them, it is nice to go be on site and kind of put faces to names and see people. I
find that if I have somebody there with me, then I realize that there's problems that I haven't thought about. And then when they come in, I'm like, hey, I need you for this. And I can't really describe it or explain it, but you can see it. And then it helps just. Yeah,
I get a lot of that when I go on site, because it does kind of have a trigger response. And you're like, hey, you're here. This has been happening and we just have been dealing with it. And that happens a lot.
And you started in Edafio
It was July 1st, 2004. It was like right after college. I was trying to just get into the world of IT. The background I had was programming, and It wasn't like exciting to me. Offense to people who do program, that just wasn't my cup of tea, I guess. So I was trying to figure out like what else could I do with this degree. I think I remember like my senior year, I visited some guys that did, I don't know if it was consulting, but they were like an on-site IT team for a hospital in Little Rock. And that kind of got my attention. I was like, well, maybe I could do something like that. That might be not just writing code all the time, but shooting issues and things like that. And so
and interacting and doing that whole consultative approach.
Yeah. Yep. And so I applied for a few places and interviewed with a couple within like the same amount of time frame. And I got 2 offers, and one was unpaid and one was paid, and I would be commuting from Hot Springs at that time, so I was like, I'll go for the paid option.
Yeah.
And that was Edafio. And then it ended up I got in and met a lot of the guys who are still here today, Kendall and Freddie and Paul and Neil and Jeff. Made bonds with those guys, learned all kinds of stuff because I was still pretty new.
How many people worked at Edafio at that time?
I want to say it was like 8, and we still had a couple like software guys at that time that were doing some things for a few clients.
Okay. What are some of your thoughts and fact that you started with when there were only less than 10 people and now we're over 100? You've seen that transition and that evolution happen.
It's been cool to see because, we started off like in a small group.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, now you kind of look up and you see like, I don't know who that is, but I've talked to them on Teams, but I haven't seen their face or something. So that part's been kind of cool. It's almost like just a sea change, I guess, of how you come into the office and you interact with different people every day. And I mean, I could probably go work with someone different every day this month, and that used to not be the case. You got used to working in this small group. But I think the positive side of it is now we have that many more people that have different, backgrounds and different knowledge bases in their own skill set. It's really expanded the things we can do, brought different ways of doing things. Sometimes you can kind of get stuck in this is how we do it. And I think as we get people that are from other firms that have come over, or even new younger talent from college and stuff like that, you get different ideas, and it helps the company stay current and fresh. And it also gives us, different perspectives and more people to rely on.
I was talking to an engineer earlier about what would be, and I would like to ask you the same question, is what would you advise anybody coming into this field that's curious, that maybe has never thought about it, but his takeaway was be open and be curious and never, just always be ready for a change, that things are never the same.
Everything's almost completely different from where it was 12 months ago. There's this virus, whatever. But now, like, everybody's working from home, and it's really changed, put a lot of different ways to work in the forefront, like things that were coming, or I could see that being useful. It's like critical apps now. Teams and Zoom are like, if that's down, you got clients yelling. If you're looking into getting into this field, you do want to have like a core understanding of how computing works, or go get some skill sets in Microsoft World or whatever. You kind of have to be open to learning new things. I mean, the antivirus and backup stuff we use now is worlds different from what we were using a few years ago. There's always something new coming around the corner that could make your life way easier. It's kind of a cool field because what other jobs are like changing all the time, and new things are developed. And I always joke, there's that, what job can you go like Google search, like, how do I do this, and find people talking about it.
Yeah. What made you decide to go into it? Is it something you always enjoyed as a child and growing up, or was it?
I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, because I was kind of just, maybe for a minute, I thought maybe I'll do like meteorology or be a vet or something. I think I had an internship kind of thing with the web developer at the school, and I thought that was kind of interesting too. And so when I started looking at college courses, it just kind of seemed like something that would be challenging and fun, and I enjoyed computers, so kind of just went with it, I guess.
Here you are now. What do you like to do in your free time?
I like to listen to music a lot. Kind of slowly started building like a vinyl record collection at our house, like everybody kind of did in the last year probably. I've always enjoyed kind of listening to albums from start to finish, so it's kind of a fun way to do it and get into a little hobby. I also like outdoor stuff. Mostly, we go hiking a lot, our family, especially the past few months, when we're trying to find things to do that aren't going around groups of people. So we'll go hiking a lot around here. It's a great place to be here because there's so many cool outdoor things so close to Little Rock and even up in Northwest Arkansas and stuff. So those are kind of the two main things that I think I've done a lot of lately, but I also enjoy gardening a little bit. My dad was a landscape architect background, and he worked for the Forest Service. That passed that on to me and my brother and I, and so we both kind of like having nice gardens and flowers and stuff in the spring. And
it's a great way. It's almost meditative, to just dig in and make something beautiful just by your own hands.
Yeah, it's a good way to like get a break from computer stuff too. Like even if it's just mowing the lawn, it's like,
Yeah.
all right, let me just go do something outside and yeah.
Do it barefoot. They say like being around electronics all the time isn't necessarily the most beneficial for your health. Moving is good and getting
Yeah.
outside is good.
And where I am now, our yard's kind of small, so I can mow I can mow everything pretty quickly. So I have family in San Diego, and I'd love to like fly out there and snip stuff and bring it back and
Oh, yeah.
try to like grow it here indoors, because there's stuff. You go in my cousin's backyard and there's like a tree, where here it'd be like boop, little tiny. Oh,
Oh,
it's so
that's
cute. Let
awesome.
me give it a drop of water, and there it just grows like crazy. So just got to figure out how to get out there and get some, I guess.
Yeah, we'll make that a goal for after you get your vaccine, I guess.
Yeah,
When things
yeah.
are a little bit more free to travel. So when you're creatively stuck, what do you do?
I mentioned just I'll listen to music. Like if it's work stuff, I got to take a break.
Hard during working from home to take the breaks? Do you
Yeah,
find it hard sometimes to get up and actually step away?
I do, because sometimes I'll go, well, if I work through lunch, then I can stop like at 4, and then it's like 4:50, and you're like, oh well, I guess I didn't stop. But I do try to be done like at 5 if I can. We got a 6-year-old, so there's not a ton of time before it's bedtime. So try to make sure I get some break with him, and he usually wants to play something or have me watch him on his scooter or the trampoline or something. So
If you had one core message to the world, what would it be?
I think it would just be to treat people with respect, and kindness seems to get forgotten a lot here recently. And whether it's just, people you interact with at work or on the street or whatever, you don't really know what they're going through. And
When I asked that question, the engineers are very, but just super kind, and knowing that that's what they provide to their clients is not to be arrogant or to show like their brilliance in IT. It's like this therapy of being present and listening and actively learning about what what their issues are, and being
yeah,
patient. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And it can be tough sometimes, you've had a long day, but it helps even with our client, it helps get problems solved faster if you just kind of disconnect from what I have going on and just, let's
Prioritize and focus on what they have going on. Mm-hmm. What would be impossible for you to give up?
Chocolate. I have a little bit of a sweet tooth. My wife would probably laugh and think I have a lot of bit of a sweet tooth, but I love chocolate and salted caramel dark chocolate.
The best.
Always the best. Yeah.
One thing that I've only found it a few times. I love toffee, and I love salted dark chocolate with toffee, and it's very difficult to find toffee that's covered in dark chocolate with like salted. Like you can find milk chocolate toffee, but if you ever find the dark chocolate candy bar with toffee chunks or whatever that's salted, it's almost impossible. And maybe, and then I'm like, well, if there's a need and we're missing it, then maybe that was my calling, is to go and make that.
Yeah.
I don't even, when my kids were little, I wouldn't even allow them to know what milk chocolate was. I immediately got them started on dark chocolate, where, if you started them with that, well, either they're not going to like chocolate, and then they eventually will find milk chocolate because they've got friends.
That's usually we always use dark chocolate when we make cookies, dark chocolate chips, or, that's probably most of what we've exposed Everett to. But, I know he's seen other ones, but yeah, I'm like, no, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Don't ruin it. Who or what made you smile today?
Well, there's usually somebody goofing off in teams at work, blowing off steam or making jokes. There's a core group of guys that we have the same clients, or, touch the same things at work and the same teams. So yeah, there's usually somebody making some joke.
It's a great way though to have a place to let off steam though, and just share, know that you're being heard. And back to the whole core values of one team. You guys, even though we have grown so much, there is still these little pockets of support that count on each other for, based on your technical skills and where you're at.
And it's nice to have, personable people that, have a personality. Sometimes the IT guy gets, stereotyped as just,
Yeah.
leave it alone. But it seems like almost I think everybody
Yeah.
is not the stereotype. So
I would agree with that. I would. But sometimes it's just getting them out of their shell too. I think everybody does have a personality. It's just providing them with a comfortable place and a safe space to talk. And before you know it, those quiet people are most funny. You just have to get them out of there.
I mean, I can be a little, I can seem a little quiet at first, but once I kind of get to know people, I open up a little bit more, I think, myself. So, yeah.
Like, oh, watch out. You just made Justin comfortable. Now you're not going to be able to do it. The question we have is everyone at Edafio has a story. And I know you've given us a little bit of background, but if you could just expand on that, what's your story with coming to Edafio?
Yeah, my college Sunday school teacher kind of told me about Edafio. His company used them for their IT. And so that's kind of how I got the intro. And I came and met our CEO at the time. And I've learned so much stuff here over the years. And I kind of started with, we didn't really have a help desk back in 2004, but, it was kind of a little bit of that, answering the phones and, hey, run this down to Pine Bluff, somebody's there, or run this over to North Little Rock, a little bit of orders. Like I did a little bit of that orders team stuff. So I understand, like, when I'm interacting with our current orders team, like what they need, because I've kind of been there before. Got into being like a secondary engineer on some clients, and then I got my own. Eventually I had enough clients to be full-time engineer, and just kind of working my way up with skill set. Eventually got up to senior engineer. It was like 5 years ago, maybe. It's just kind of all blended together recently, but now it's a group of clients that are complex and challenging, and definitely makes it fun and interesting. There's always something new going on. You get to know the clients, and you get to know their core beliefs and values and what they're trying to do for their customers, and you get involved and invested. We care about our clients, and I really do believe that, because we do want them to be successful. You almost feel like part of their team, even though you work for Edafio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the models that I think is a unique differentiator. Not just white glove, it's like you become part of their staff, their family. So.
Yeah, and sometimes forget it, but then they remind you the lifetime milestones they've gone through, getting married. We had Everett and time in the hospital when he was first born, and your clients reach out and help you out and give you gifts, or even when he was sick, they bought us meals and things like that. So you definitely are always reminded, even just little things like, hey, here's a Christmas card and stuff like that. You just sort of reminded that you kind of have become part of their family, if you will.
I appreciate your time and just being able to talk with me and sharing your story. Congratulations again. Well, have a great Monday. Thank you again.
All right. You too. Thanks.